Hey you guys, what's up? I'm Caitlin from Leave Me Alone Plants, and today I'm going to be teaching you everything you need to know when taking care of your Ric Rac cactus. Now, Ric Rac cactus is the name that I call it these days. It goes by a lot of names. I know some people call it a Zig Zag Cactus, which is what I think I was originally introduced to it as. It also goes by a Fishbone cactus. I'm sure there's a scientific name that I would never pronounce correctly, so we're just gonna foresee that one. But Ric Rac cactus is, you know, as I said, kind of the most common name that I see it go by on the interwebs. So, like some other cactuses that we have talked about on my channel, this guy as well is an epiphyte, and if you are not familiar with what that means, it means that in nature, this plant is typically not going to be seen growing in the soil. Instead, it will be growing somewhere like on a rock, on the crook of a tree. It basically just latches itself onto any surface that it can find, and you know, it calls it home. It's not too picky. So, you know, I personally love epiphytes. I find them very easy to care for. I find them to be, you know, really tolerant of pretty much anything that I do to them. So maybe your experiences have differed from mine, but on a personal level, I think they're great. Now, when looking for where these guys are found in nature, I mean, to me, they look like they'd be found somewhere in, I don't know, a Dr. Seuss book. As you can see, they kind of have these crazy zigzaggy, just wild-looking stems. They're naturally found in rainforests, which is kind of surprising, consider that it's a cactus. And you know, we'll get into this a little later, but in terms of caring for it, it's gonna kind of almost be what I would think of as a hybrid. It has some properties that feel like a cactus and then other properties that feel more like, you know, a foliage plant. So keep that in mind when caring for this guy, that, you know, if you're just thinking of it exactly like a cactus, it might need a little extra care. So these guys are gonna like a drier soil, but with that said, I tend to water this guy a lot more than I water all my other cactuses. And you know, one of the things about this plant that you'll notice is if he isn't getting enough water, I'm not sure if it'll come up on camera, but there's one wrinkly piece in there, and you'll start to notice that when he's thirsty, those pieces start to come up, and kind of to take that a step further, if you let him sit like that too long and he kind of wrinkles up and is just, you know, not looking too nice, then what you'll see happen is they kind of get these little brown patches on them. And I don't believe that I have any on here, but what seems to be really common, if you go and you're in a nursery, you see them in the store and they're kind of a more mature plant, you'll see these, you know, like brown splotchy, almost look like scars on them. And to my understanding, that mostly comes from that inconsistent watering where they're getting really wrinkled and then they're expanding. It seems like it almost causes splits in their skin, so it's really common to see on these plants, and you know, that was part of the reason why I was so jazzed when I found this plant in particular, because I mean, in my humble opinion, he's a pretty good looking Ric Rac cactus. I think something we think of with most cactuses is, oh, just, you know, throw them in bright direct light, and in many cases that's great, that's fine, you can totally do that, and they love it. With these guys, they seem to be a little more delicate. So another common thing that you'll see if you're shopping around for these guys is these long stems will sometimes be, you know, either on the tip or the whole leaf will be like kind of this reddish brown color, and that's from them getting sunburned. So if they sit in that direct light too much, they will kind of take on that reddish color, and you know, I think kind of similar to if you think about how like an aloe plant looks if you give it direct light. That's kind of how it's going to transition. It's just not super pretty. Well, like kind of. In a weird way, it kind of is. They're like kind of like this reddish color, and I kind of low-key like it, but also it's not good for your cactus. So don't do that. Don't put them in direct light too long, but you know, kind of giving them that bright indirect light is probably going to be your best case scenario with these guys. Now, I think one thing that, you know, when you look at this kind of makes you think, oh, maybe this isn't a cactus, maybe it's a succulent, maybe you're not really sure what it is the fact that you don't really see too many of the spines on here. But there's no way that this is going to pick up on camera. They're so like microscopically small, but kind of if you look in between the crooks of some of these little zigzags, you'll see there are sometimes spines in there. So if you are handling these, especially if they're a bigger plant, you know, do just take a little bit of caution, because they can still have those spines on there even if they aren't super spiny like a traditional cactus. Now, like most cactuses, these guys will eventually flower. They have nice pink blooms, but unfortunately they only last for a day, and when those blooms do come in, they typically tend to come overnight. So people, you know, they're pretty rare to see. You don't typically see people have them on these, so if you do happen to see one, know that it is a rare phenomenon to see it on these cacti. As for propagation of these, I would say these are one of the easiest cactuses out there to propagate. So as this plant matures, it's really common that, you know, as they're still attached, these, in between each of these zigzags, kind of like I was mentioning, they can have little thorns in there. Each one of those zigzags actually has almost like a node coming out of there. And what you'll see happen really often is roots will actually start to form out of there. Now, some people, myself included, aren't super fond of the look of, like, you know, roots hanging all off this cactus. So, you know, of course you can opt to clip them off, but on the flip side, what you can do, which is really great, is once they start to form those roots, you can just snip a piece off, plop it in soil, and it'll kind of just take off from there. As for, you know, how big they can get pretty large, and you'll see beautiful long trailing ones. I think if you go to Plantarina's channel, she has a gorgeous one. Of course, I mean, all of her plants are gorgeous, but yeah, they're really can just get long and flowing and be beautiful in a hanging basket if you have one. So they do size up. Of course, mine is just a little guy right now, but one day you'll be a big cactus. That is basically everything that I have to talk about for this cactus, but of course, if you have other points that you think were important or questions that you had, drop them in those comments down below so that we can all learn in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to give that like button some love and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're coming out with a lot of cool videos, at least cool in my opinion. So I don't know, just hit the subscribe button. It's not that hard. Thank you guys again for checking out this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.